Art is a hobby, not a career. No.
So, this is Koala Man. This is a new show on Hulu? Yeah, that's where I watched it.
Had every VHS tape you ever put out. Not one bootleg.
This is another show by Michael Cusack, who you might know as the creator of Smiling Friends.
What is that?
And then Crystal Fantasy. No, wait, was it? It's YOLO. YOLO, and then whatever, Crystal Fantasy, Diamond Fantasy, something or other.
YOLO Silver Destiny, Episode 1. Same show, different name or some shit.
And then he's got this show. Between Michael Cusack's work and Tom Cardy and the Bluey.
I peed on my foot.
I don't know why, but we're really tapping into just like all the wonderful creative work that country's been producing lately. Smiling Friends is probably his most well-known creation. Now there are people that like YOLO just as well, and I was one of them. It's like one of those weird, bizarre series. And Smiling Friends, to be perfectly honest, I thought it was... I like it plenty. It, of course, has some wonderful voice actors and guest stars and just weird adventures that crew goes on. But if I had to say honestly, I think I like this one the best. I don't know where that puts me in sort of the standing with other fans of his work, because I would certainly say that this seems to be the less Michael-y of the Michael Cusack shows. It's definitely out there. It's the kind of place where Australia really is like 12 hours ahead in time, and there is theoretical time travel communication, like, radio. And because of one character's decision, there was this huge ripple effect where just a lot of crazy things just happened.
You've already noticed that iceberg over there. What could possibly put us in such unexpected danger?
I don't know, sir. But maybe we should hold off on opening this cursed sarcophagus.
Chock full of all sorts of Australian goodness. I would have to say the one thing that this series has over the other two is I think Smiling Friends does take place in America. And I know that YOLO takes place in Australia, but it really doesn't take the time to sort of point out the differences between the culture. This one, they have a lot of good fun, sort of pointing out like the differences between the two countries. And I had to look up show bags and figure out what the hell that was.
What a unique and fun tradition we Australians have! So much chocolate! Novelty stickers and toys!
I paid $20 for $6 worth of stuff!
Aside from that, I would have to say this one is sort of the most grounded, even though there are still just like a bunch of weird, crazy stuff, and including these characters. Like, you can just tell from the design sometimes. Damo and Darren are these two delinquents that Koala Man runs into all the time. They are the most reminiscent of the sort of the style that Cusack has brought forward.
I bet my fucking Mongoose BMX that Dapto would win, you fucking dickhead! And someone stole my Mongoose bike! This is the worst day ever!
Everyone else is sort of more or less like a standard, like, adult animated design. Like, the round up pupils, the round eyes, meaty, short, stubby fingers, that sort of thing.
Taking a break is just what the forces of evil want me to do, Vicky.
Should probably just tell you who Koala Man is. He is just a local superhero. He is not endowed with any sort of superpowers. He just chose the persona of the koala because of an incident that moved him on a deep psychological and spiritual level.
Mindy, is that you?
He doesn't have any sort of like super equipment or koala gadgets.
Go, koala claws! I still need to invent those, don't I?
To the chagrin of many people in his community and to his family.
If people from school ever find out you're Koala Man, I think I'll genuinely kill myself.
He would have an average normal life, except for the fact that weird, bizarre stuff does happen to him. Despite having no superpowers and no super gadgets, he does manage to stand up to a lot of these weird threats that manage to throw themselves at him and his family and his community of Dapto, which is just constantly shit on during the whole season.
And yes, maybe the other towns have taken to calling us Dap Toilet.
Let's all take a shit on that toilet.
I actually had to look it up to see if it was like, oh, did they just make up a place? Nope, Dapto is a real location. And I don't know if Michael is from that or not. Or if that's just a location that he decided to, like, totally rag on for, like, a whole season. But you know what? Despite the fact that even though the locals even say, oh, man, this place sucks.
This town is cursed, I tell ya! Cursed!
Kevin has this weird optimism and pride in his community, in his family, in his chosen vocation, and that is surprisingly endearing.
We're Australian, Liam, and we have to make the best of what we have.
On the spectrum, he is an underdog who you just can't help but really root for, even though he's just like a little bit obnoxious and callous and just a huge stick in the mud for rules and such.
Well, Louise! I really, really, really hope you've got a permit for that illegal-looking aircraft!
Deep down, he is just got a real heart of gold because he believes in fairness and kindness and just, fighting a good fight. There are so many times when he's actually surprisingly defeated someone.
That's it, tradies. You had a fair go, and you lost. Get out of here.
In a weird way, I would think that this is how Superman would act if he also didn't have his powers, if he were just kind of a weirdo. Michael does a great job voicing him. Like I said, this seems like the least likely, or the least like one of his series. And I think that's because he's so busy working on Friends and YOLO. This was actually, he got a developed credit. This is based on one of his earlier shorts, and he then handed it off to some other guys who developed it more. Yeah, Dan Hernandez and Benji Samit. It's kind of like an American Dad situation, where the creator sort of voices a bunch of the main characters, but I don't know to which extent they are involved in sort of the writing and then the production. But despite the fact that this is only about 8 episodes long, it is twice as long as Friends and YOLO. That's because each episode is about 30 minutes, or 20 minutes, really. I keep saying 30 minutes because I'm still in a TV mode. Yeah, I'm like Maxwell. I'm a crazy old codger.
This country's taking an elevator to hell and stopping at every shit floor on the way down.
It does feel like you get to know these characters a little more because you've got like little moments like this where Kevin is just riding with Spider, one of his good friends who truly believes in Koala Man. Spider's great. He's like all the other guys from the alley on King of the Hill rolled up into one. He's got the build of Bill, like craziness of Dale. And also, he's got just such moments of badass that is comparable to Boomhauer.
Always hated the Tigglies, man.
Yeah, I thought Spider was just going to be like kind of a lame character, but he really grew on me.
Boy, Koala Man! Sick theme song!
Of course, another thing that sort of separates this from the other series that are going on is that this one has sort of a chronological order. There is a greater story being told. Not that there isn't one in YOLO, and Friends is also pretty good, even though you can watch any episode in order. This one has a definite story going over the whole season because Koala Man has a supervillain nemesis known as the Kookaburra, who is He's surprisingly menacing and charismatic.
Of course you took the bins out, Kevin, but I brought them back up so it looked like you never did. Kookaburra will have the last laugh.
Although, at the same time, he is just as petty and small potatoes as Kevin is.
You're worse than Koala Man.
Do not speak his name! If this town won't accept my protection, you can burn for it.
Basically, this whole season, he's been manipulating events to sort of get Kevin unbalanced and wait until he's at his weakest in order to sort of take over as Dapto's premier superhero.
Oh, look! You're not a koala, you're just a wanker.
He has a wonderful, chilling voice. I had to actually look it up and see who he was. And I was like, it's so familiar. Where have I heard this voice actor before? And you know what? It's been under my nose the whole series.
I know everything about you, Vicky, because I've been close to you. All this time.
Principal Baswell?
Yeah, it turns out that the Kookaburra is this principal character who's also just like been really hilarious. It's just something about his voice. Has got such a wonderfully smooth cadence. He's played by Jermaine Clement, and I was like, where have I heard this guy before? He's fantastic. He played the Fart Cloud on that one episode of Rick and Morty, and that's about all I recognize him from.
Communicate through what you call Jessica's feet. No, telepathy.
Saved a mind-reading fart.
I like this name, Fart.
His delivery throughout the entire series is just magic. It's worth watching this series alone just for his performance.
Liam, I know it's an old cliche about the principal being your pal, but maybe this principal can help you get back in touch with your principals.
Oh, wordplay.
I thought you'd enjoy that.
Speaking of other really great voices, we have Hugh Jackman playing Big Greg, sort of the head of the Dapto Council. He's a local politician, celebrity fisherman. He's got you know what? It's weird. I don't know if it's just a regular TV show or a web show where he just goes around and, catches different fish.
And I need to finish this old episode of my show for inspiration. This is the one where I pulled the Peruvian dickfish out of my cameraman's urethra. Still got the little bugger.
Also, the boss at Kevin's day job, where he works as IT. All he does is reset the router and take out the bins, they say. While he's, nice enough to Kevin, he seems to just kind of take a disliking and is very sort of dismissive to Koala Man, which, creates an interesting dynamic.
Welcome to my panic room. Bet you don't have one of these, Koala Man.
Personally, I've always found you don't need a panic room if you don't plan to panic.
Ah! What is that?
And while he does seem to, enjoy his position as one of the local leaders of Dapto, he still kind of, regards the town as kind of a dump, which really creates a contrast between him and Koala Man, because while he is clearly an accomplished individual for, the town, he feels like he might be, slumming it.
Because there is fuck all to do in this wonderful town. We'll be bringing forward the Miss Sausage Roll pageant so the Queen can crown the winner.
And Koala Man, on the other hand, is just, kind of a weirdo. But at the same time, he feels that, Dapto is a great place and they can all rise to greatness if they really put their all into it.
I'll put the bins out.
I know.
It's later revealed that Big Craig has a older brother called Huge Craig, who is very antagonistic towards him.
Oh, is little Greg gonna coach the team in the little town he stayed in because he couldn't make it in the big city?
Shut up!
Did your voice just crack?
He is literally the big fish in the small pond. Very emotional about it. Much so that he is willing to do some pretty underhanded, nefarious stuff to try and beat his older brother. Again, he comes off as a very cynical individual. A good mirror for Koala Man.
This is un-Australian.
You know nothing, Koala Man.
You know what? In a weird way, even though he sort of wins his sibling rivalry with his older brother, he learns that, yeah, winning is not always everything. So, yeah, you can't help but, feel a little bit sad for Big Craig.
You know what they say? There's plenty of fish in the sea.
Because at the end of the day, Koala Man still has the love of his family. But at least he sort of grew as a character. And I think that's really interesting.
I saw what you did today. Great job, Kevin. I mean, Koala Man.
But if you really want to talk about character arcs, then we got to talk about the main family. There is just a bunch of interesting stuff happening with these characters. And I guess maybe we'll start with Vicky?
Besides, we have one thing that makes us cool. Our mum's the canteen lady.
And while she is sort of initially annoyed at Kevin for being Koala Man, it turns out that the actual root of her problem is just her unhappiness with how her life is going.
If we win, Dapto will finally not be a dead-end town for losers. I need this. I mean, Dapto needs this.
She feels like she peaked very early in her life, and she's really just having issues with her lack of confidence. Starting at the beginning of the series, just takes very small incremental steps to try to improve herself.
Wow, I did it. Are you ready to go again?
She tries to improve the diet of the kids at school by substituting their sodas out for healthier snacks. Then naturally leads into her beseeching the ancient gods for the power to destroy her children's enemies in a game of handball. That old chestnut.
Sick.
I say, also what a really great job they did with her design. I mean, they could have gone the usual animated sitcom route and just make her super conventionally attractive with, just an hourglass figure. Here, she just looks like a regular, cute little housewife. She's got, she got a little belly. They draw her in these, really cute poses and just kind of looks really cute when she has her hair down. So it's not a huge thing, but it's just different enough to be noticeable.
Your husband goes through a midlife koala phase, and the only thing that makes it better is the power of a drill in your hand.
Liam, come on. We've got to get our menopausal mummy some rubbish.
Yay, mama pause.
I was really surprised by Allison and her whole plot line. At first I thought she was just going to be really annoying, really attention starved. And to a point she is.
I don't want to be friends with them. I want to be them. I want a bunch of beta orbiters and Sims fawning over me.
That drama became sort of like the Wall plot line from Solar Opposites. Just really interesting. And she is actually immensely cutthroat about it.
I felt fine, actually.
I would say she falls just short of super villainry. Other thing that sort of separates her from her father is that unlike Koala Man / Kevin, she's actually capable of pulling off some of the more difficult feats that require her to get to her goal. It's pretty astounding, really. And while over the season she is able to sort of secure herself next to the most popular girl in school, is a slight complication that arises. You see, Allison is not totally heartless. She does love her family, and she does love her brother. And in a weird twist, she learns to be friends with Rosie, the most popular girl in school, because Rosie turns out to genuinely be a good person. Then, of course, things are complicated a little bit further.
Mom, I need to find Rosie. I love her.
Oh, okay. Yep, a lot of things happening today.
Where you actually feel good for Allison at this point. You feel like she's slowly turning away from her evil mechanizations. Mecha that is, until some real tragedy strikes. That basically kind of sets her up for maybe going to an even darker place next season.
Dapto's just the beginning, and there are so many more worlds to conquer.
And then finally we have Liam. Poor, sweet, little innocent Liam. Just kind of a nerdy kid.
I don't want anyone to find out your identity either, Dad, because I like having a secret.
His quirk is that through an attack from a supervillain, he has developed immense psychic powers. He can move things with his mind, and more importantly, he can see the future.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Again, other than that, he just really loves his family. But unfortunately, he also feels like the odd man out. And man, this season just really batters him around. There are just so many people that die around him. He loses the only girl that was interested in him, a brain that could communicate with him and help him understand his psychic powers, was killed. And he was sort of manipulated into an assassination attempt of the Queen of Australia from an American assassin, played by Justin Rowland. Yeah, that's not awkward.
I love you, Chad Wagon.
Please, son, call me Dad Wagon.
His family does love him, and they do support him in whatever way they can. By the end of this season, he still just feels alone. He just decides to go out on his own because he feels he can't live in Dapto anymore. And by the end of this first series, I'm really looking forward to season 2 because they just set up so many things.
I want to run for town council.
I'll support anything you want to do, so long as you fill out the appropriate forms and pay the application fees.
Can I also say that this series does have some really great music, especially the theme song. It's sort of set up that the theme song is going to be this big joke.
Koala Man, hero for all the Daptonians. It's okay. Okay? What? No, this is a banger, as the kids say.
But it is actually surprisingly catchy. Starts off with a good guitar riff, and then just goes into orchestral It reminds me a lot of the Superman theme. They rearrange it several times throughout the series in really interesting ways. There's sort of a determined theme and a touching theme. And then there's this sort of glorious return theme at the tail end of the series. So yeah, good on the composer. Whoever came up with the Koala Man theme song, you genuinely actually came up with a rousing superhero anthem.
Really, really strong melody. Good job. Thanks, mate. At least someone gets it.